Good Sunday morning. Good morning to you all. I wish you a good Sunday morning because it is Sunday morning. There you go. Um, and here I am, still doing the weekends. This is really good. I'm actually enjoying doing the weekends. It feels very different, a bit later than normal. Feels very good to be doing the weekends and having a chat with you on a weekend. And comes at a really interesting point because yesterday I was talking about the one thing and figuring out that the one thing that I needed to do uh, was the college university work, the coursework, not not the uh, not the writing, the pleasurable writing. Not that the coursework's not pleasurable, as I was saying yesterday. And it was a tough day. It was a tough day. Why was it a tough day? It was a tough day because there was athletics on the telly. Then there was cricket on the telly. Then and it was the day, it was the day after I'd been away for a few days, just relaxing and just having a great time. And as if you heard yesterday, I was at my son's wedding in Northern Ireland, and it was all lovely. And then all of a sudden, you got to buckle down again, haven't you? And you got to buckle down, and you're like, oh, here we go. The buckling down is required. So that can make it really difficult. And so did I do as much as I'd anticipated I would have done? No. Did I do something? Yes. And that's the important thing, isn't it? So there's a few things here just thinking about. So this is really a continuation on from kind of yesterday, I suppose, in terms of kind of thinking about this idea of kind of getting things done. And the first thing to contemplate is that in my head, it's all about mindset. I was having an interesting thought this morning when I was thinking about what to talk about, and that was that actually, I don't think I talk about these things all the time. Your frogs and your elephants and mindset and motivation and preparation and all that kind of stuff. And I think, do I really do that? Do I really do all that stuff? I was thinking about it, and I thought yesterday, as I was contemplating what to do and not wanting to do what I needed to do and all those kind of experiences that we all suffer, I was reflecting on it. And at the time, I didn't really consciously, anyway, think about it. And but looking back at what I did yesterday, all of the things that I talk about have become embedded. They've become embedded as they do because they're now habits, and I absolutely knew that I had to move this study of skills practice, it's called. I absolutely knew I had to move these two elements because there's two of them to do. I absolutely knew I had to move them forward. So I knew that just losing a whole of the day to watching athletics and cricket and the like, and general just sitting about, although those things are valuable in themselves at times, wasn't going to get me in a position where I was going to sit today and think, yeah, well done, we've moved that forward. So I didn't. My plan was to finish one of them. There's a short one and a long one. My plan was to finish the short one. And I think that was what was putting me off. So, well, it feels like a lot. Not really sure what. That was the key moment. Was I'm not really sure what it is, and I think I had read it. I had a vague idea of what it was, but I didn't have a concrete idea of the mechanics of it. And I see a lot of people. I see two things quite a lot among groups of students, because that's who I work with the most, I suppose. I see it, but also among lots of people. I see two things. I see a mindset problem. Oh, I don't want to do this. This is really hard. This is a lot of effort. Yeah, it is, right? Because life is. That's just the way it is. You know what I mean? Oh, it's really hard. It's a lot of effort. It's really difficult. And then the reason it's often difficult is because I don't know where to start. And you have to start with the task. So I thought, what can I do today? And I thought, I know, right, if I map out, if all I do today is map out what it is there's to do, so I've got an understanding of what there is to do, then maybe I can start to move forward on this, because there's something blocking it. There's something blocking it. I've had this in my diary to do a few times, and I've moved it, and I have 3 strikes and you're out. I have a 3 strikes and you're out philosophy in my diary. So if I move something, once I move something a third time, it's like, right, okay, let's have a look at this. Why are you not doing this? Why is it when this comes up in your diary, you don't do it? And sometimes it's because it's like, well, actually, I've moved it and I've moved it and I've moved it. And actually, it's because I thought I was dead excited about doing it at the time, but now I'm not. So what do I do with it? Right, well, let's delete it. Let's get rid of it. Or sometimes I think, well, I don't want to delete it because I might still be interested in watching that video or doing that thing. So I'll move it like 6 months down the line because it's one of those things where it doesn't matter. However, with this, it's like, right, this is the third time I've moved this now. What's the blockage? What's going on here? Because you can't go on. You can't go on in life, in things that need to be done, in work and in life and in study and that kind of thing. You can't go on just keep nudging things and moving things and moving things and moving things all the time. Because actually, I'm quite lucky. Again, one of those habits that I've developed is I've got a massive amount of slippage going on here. I can't remember what it is, but session 9, I think, is at the end of September. And this has to be in after session 9 and before session 10, which is the end of October. We're only end of August. I reckon I'm estimating these things will take me 3 days. And it's 2 months I've been handed in. So that's the first thing. The first thing is I can afford to move it. So I can afford to move it and then move it and then move it. I can afford to do that. That's really important. And it's a big task. So the slippage needs to be big. If it's just a little task, you maybe just give yourself a couple of days slippage because eventually you'll find 10 minutes to do the thing, But if it's big like this where I need days, then give yourself plenty of slippage. The other thing that that I would say with that popped into my head now and is then gone is that is to make sure you're estimating enough time. Make sure you estimate enough time to do these things, because I was kind of estimating that I could probably get these done in 3 days, as I've just said there. And I think it's a little bit longer. Not much, but I think it's a little bit longer. So I'm going to pencil some more time in there. So, yes. So what I did yesterday was got into the right mindset. Now, here's the thing. The problem with motivation is we sit there not motivated to do something. We sit there thinking, oh, I really can't bother to do that, blah, blah, blah. And we think those things. I'm not feeling motivated. I'll wait for motivation to strike. Now, the thing that generally causes us motivation is that the thing that we're trying to motivate ourselves to do needs to be done for this afternoon, for this morning, for tomorrow, whatever, for the end of the week, whatever it is. Normally, we let time frames motivate us instead of internal drivers motivate us. Yeah. So my motivation yesterday, I suppose, was to move this thing forward for me, to make me feel better about this thing. Not to hit the end date. The end date's far enough off for me not to be worried about that. Not to hit the end date, but me to move this forward, because I'm not constantly, I mean, exaggeration. I am repeatedly thinking about this when I'm doing other things. Now, the secret to efficient and effective work is to not spend your time when you're doing something thinking about other things that you need to do. So when I'm doing things, this is popping into my head to do. So I still got that thing to do. You know what I mean? And I enjoy doing it. I enjoyed what I did yesterday. But it keeps like, oh, I've got a thing to do. It's really big. It's massive. Actually, is it really big and massive? Because I don't really know what it is, kind of thing. I've got a vague idea. It feels big. Anyway, so motivation, when you're trying to motivate yourself, the secret is just to do something. It's not to set out to do the whole thing, to do as much as you thought you'd do. It's just do something. And motivation begets motivation. So you start to do something and you think, right, that's that done. Now I'll move on to the next thing. Power of small wins, psychological thing that involves dopamine and success and feeling good about ourselves. So I thought, oh, what I'll do is I'll outline, I'll get the information about what I need to do for the second one, the smaller one. And I'll create myself a document that has all the titles ready, has all the bits in, has the under each title, rather than the way it was set out in the book, was in the module guide, was exactly how it should be set out in the module guide, but not exactly how I needed it to write it. So I thought, right, I'll write it. I'll write it all out in the order it needs to be, with the notes about each section. Under each section, with how many words it needs to be, with what I need to remember to do, with what needs to be in the appendix. I'll do that. And I'll do that for the second one, which is the shorter one, because that's what I'm going to do first. And while I was doing that, I thought, well, actually, this is very much like the first one. The second one is a subset of the first one. So I thought, well, I'll make the first one up while I'm on. Do you know what I mean? So now, because I just did something, because I created a mindset of let's just see what I can get done, and then let's go back to the cricket and the athletics. Let's do that. That's a nice thing to do. That's relaxing. Let's do this. Let's get this on. Let's get this on a bit of paper. Well, albeit an electronic bit of paper. And David Allen, this is where I don't really follow David Allen's getting things done methodology to the letter. I do lots of the things that David Allen suggests. And this is where I don't, because David Allen, I talk about breaking your tasks down. The eating elephant analogy. How do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? Because you couldn't possibly eat a whole elephant all in one go. So I like to think about breaking it down and diarying all the tasks. David Allen talks about what's the next. He talks about what's the next action that you need to accomplish to then think about what the next action is. Next action, next action. So what's my next action for this was, well, figure out what it is I need to do by creating this template, I suppose, of the assignment. So that's what I've done. So I've now got two templates, one for Studio Skills Practice 1, one for Studio Skills Practice 2. Motivated myself, got some stuff done. And that's really good. That's a real positive step forward. And it fits with a bit of a, I like these little mantras. I like these little alliterations. And I've got one at the minute that I'm kind of working up. And it's this, it's predict, plan, prepare, produce. Predict, plan, prepare, produce. We have to predict what there is to do and the time frames that we need to do it in. That's the first thing. Predicting what needs to be done today, over the next week, over the next month. I'd argue 3 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years, whatever. Obviously, it becomes a bit more vague, I suppose, as you move down that. It becomes a bit more about direction of travel as you get further down the line rather than specifics. But predict, if we don't predict what there is to do, by getting the end dates into our calendars, by doing all that kind of stuff, I predict that I need to do these things by these points in time. I predict that if I've got a lecture to deliver, I predict that I'll need to read some books. I predict that I'll need to write the lecture. I predict. And actually that moves us from the prediction into the planning. So now that I've predicted what there is to do, there's a lecture to deliver. There's an assignment to write that, now I'm going to start planning how I'm going to do that, So I'm going to plan the steps. That's how I would do it. David Allen would just say, plan the next action. And then prepare. Prepare to do the activity. And in a way, the preparation is the gathering together of all the things that you require to do the bit that you're about to do. So in a sense, if we think about the assignment was predict, right? I've predicted the assignment's due in, I don't know, back in October, I think it is. Something like that. I'm not really worrying about it at the minute because it's so far off. Even if it was the back end of September, I'm not particularly worried about it because it's a month off. So I'm predicting that. I'm predicting I've got an assignment to do, right? I'm predicting it's going to take about 3 days. So I'm predicting all of that. So now I'm planning it. Now I'm thinking, right, well, what are the steps? Well, actually, there are some steps that are already done because you have to do the practice. You have to write some things. You have to find a volunteer. You have to do it. So I've done all that. So I'm planning. That, in a sense, is planning to get to this point. I plan all of that to get to this point. Then preparing. And yesterday was very much about preparing. And actually, if I'm being honest, that was the bit that, even though I'm quite canny at doing this stuff, that was the bit that I was missing. I was trying to get into produce first rather than prepare. And this is one of the problems, isn't it? This is one of the problems. If you try to get into produce too early, then that's quite stressful because it's like, well, if I haven't predicted, planned, and prepared, then I don't know what to produce. I don't know what I want to write. It's like an assignment. If you've got an assignment to do, the thing to do, this one's quite straightforward. They tell us what we need to do. You need to write an abstract. You need to write a plan. You need to do all this kind of thing. It tells you all the sections. That's quite easy. This is more a courseworky type thing. But we've just written an assignment, or I've just written an assignment. and it was a title. It was a 2-line, 3-line title. So it's like, well, I've got to plan that. If I just sit down and try to produce it, just write it, I'll just start writing it. Well, what am I going to write about? Where are my references coming from? Where are my quotes coming from? What am I going to write about? How is it going to be structured? How am I going to make the points that I want to make? What order should I make those points in? So it's really important that before we start to produce something, anything, and the same applies to music that I write. For example, I had a friend over, Tony, had a friend over a couple of weeks back now, I think, and we recorded a song. Well, there's a whole lot of stuff before that. If I just sat down and thought I'm going to record a song, wouldn't work, would it? Well, the song had to be written, I suppose. That was the first thing. But then I had a crib sheet of, here are the sections, here are the bits I want to play, here's where I might put a solo, here's where a harmony might go, here's where this might go. You've got to work it all out before you start producing it. And there are some kind of moments of serendipity, is that the right word? Where you go, in the moment you go, I need to write about that actually. Now that I've written that, I realize I need to write about this other thing. Or now that I've sung that harmony line or played that guitar line, I realize what it needs is a piano here. So there are moments like that. It's not just slavishly sticking to the plan, producing what's in the plan. There are those moments of those aha moments. You know what I mean? But yeah, so if we don't do that, then we're gonna struggle. So there you go. So what are the takeaways? Well, the takeaways are I've now got 2 outlines of these 2 things, and I can get on with them. And interestingly, today I sat last night with Tony coming across on Tuesday to do some more music, and I'm having a problem. I've got this massive buzz coming from my music recording setup, and I need to track that down, figure out what it is, get rid of it. You can't have a big buzz in the back of your guitar all the time. Now, I reckon if I hadn't done that yesterday, what I'd done yesterday, I had today set aside to do the writing. If I hadn't for the study, if I hadn't done that yesterday, I'd be going, oh no, I've got this to do, and I've got that to do, feeling stressed. Actually, I'm thinking at the minute. What I'm sat here thinking at the minute is, right, okay, I'm going to get on to finding the buzz. Do that this morning. I'll still have half a day to start the writing. And now that I've mapped all of that out, I reckon I can probably get 2/3 of that done this afternoon, maybe in about 4 hours or so. Do you know what I mean? Although there is cricket on again. The end of the 100, the finals of the 100 are on today. So there you go. We'll see how we go. I'll check in. It's good, this, isn't it? Tracking me doing this. I think it shows how these things apply, I suppose. So set your mindset up first. It's really important. You've got to have a positive mindset. If you go in with, this is going to be hard, I'm not going to enjoy it, woe is me, oh, it's really difficult, then that's what you're carrying with you. That's how it'll be. Simple as that. You stop that. It's going, come on, right, this is to do. Let's get this done. Even if it's something you don't like doing, this needs to be done. Let's get it done, because I'm going to feel great once this is out the way. So let's let that motivate you. Not, woe is me. Set your mindset up. Motivation can be difficult. It's difficult for us all. We'd much rather be doing nothing as doing something, most of us, most of the time. So do something. Just do something. Do one small step. Do your next action. What's the next action? Let's not try and do the whole thing today like I thought I might do. Let's just do whatever the next action is and see where that gets us. But then the whole program is predict. You have to be doing this all the time. Predict what is coming. Don't let anything catch you out. Predict what is coming. So whatever information you've got that helps you predict that, use that information. When do you need to do things by? When are things due? How can you, if you've got a problem that's emerging, how can you head that problem off? Predict. Then plan how you're going to get to the end of that thing that you've predicted needs to be done. And then do some preparation. You've got your plan, do some preparation. Have I got all the things I need for each step to hand? I know I need to do this. I need all of these things for that. Have I got them all? Think about decorating. Right. I know I need to, I'm going to predict that I need to decorate the living room. Right. Okay. I'm going to predict that needs to be done. So that's my prediction. My prediction is I need to decorate the living room. My plan is I'm going to do it on Saturday. My preparation is check I've got the rollers, check I've got the paint, check there's nothing else going to get in the way of that, all those kind of things. Then produce the product, the decorated room, the finished piece of work, the finished song, whatever it is. Predict, plan, prepare, produce. Have good Sundays, and see you very soon, hopefully in the morning. Bank holiday Monday. I'm still going to be here. Bank holiday Monday. No rest. No, that's it. No. You know that rest is very important, right? See you tomorrow. Bye.